going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Wrestling Junkies podcast for part 2 of our Wednesday doubleheader. I'm Mr. Cincinnati, and he is back. He lives. It is the podcast dad. No learning trees, but he does believe. Choops, what's going on, buddy? How you doing?
How we doing?
We're doing.
That's about how we're doing. Hey, man, I know I'm not going to say this all the time. I'm happy to see you. I'm ready to talk some wrestling.
It's okay. I will take that love wherever I can get it. But before we start talking wrestling and introduce our guests tonight, and you're doing the hand hearts too. I'm loving the side of you today.
Serious. I need this tonight. So
yeah, but you also have to share a car with me this weekend, so you're gonna get tired.
That's fine.
Of me really.
I'm gonna love it. No, I'm gonna love it. I promise. Okay. I promise.
Okay.
It's a nice hat too. Holy shit.
Thank you very much, Zicky. Did I? Okay. I don't know if you saw my Instagram story today, but you saw how this got mailed to me, right?
Mm-mm.
You did not. So this is what Zicky put this in.
Of course it is.
Exactly.
Of course it is.
Yeah. No. Thank you very much. Shout out to Zicky Dice. Hat is awesome. There's actually a couple of matches from Zicky Dice's Outlandish Paradise that have just hit YouTube. Go ahead and check those out. That event was partially sponsored by the Wrestling Junkies podcast, but we are on to the future here. So as always, everybody, please hit that QR code in the top left corner. Like, share, subscribe. Every little bit helps. We are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and we need your help to do it. And Choops, I don't know if you've looked at the numbers, but we started at 630 with 275. We're up to 278 right now. So I will take those as wins. If you know one person, thank you. Please, please, please share our podcast with them. Let them see what we've got going on here, not just here at the Wrestling Junkies podcast, but make sure that you're also following the Main Event Network. Live streams, podcasts, we've got fan art, blogs, you name it. We do it. Phenomenal group of people that we are working with over at the Main Event Network, so make sure to give them some love. Next up, WWE Shop. If you need a new Wyatt 6 t-shirt, if you want the Liv Morgan Revenge Tour t-shirt while that Revenge Tour is still happening, because I think that tour is about to make its final curtain call, definitely make sure to go to our WWE Shop affiliate. Everything that we earn goes back into this podcast. So all of the great things that you've been seeing us do as far as sponsoring events and wrestlers and shows, this is how we are able to do that. So please, if you want to see us continue to support independent wrestling, this is how you can help us do that. Also, make sure to support our merch store. I am not wearing it right now, but I was wearing our Junkies hoodie earlier today. Podcast Dad has his mug. I'm just going Team High Noon today, but beanies, tank tops, t-shirts, hats are on the way, I promise. But yeah, support our merch store. What?
Hopefully you saw the big order. The podcast mom splurged.
I like it. I have not looked yet, but we're
going to look good for SummerSlam. I'll tell you that.
I like it. Again, another show that we are sponsoring, ETU Summer Madness, coming up July 27th, Ridgefield Park, New Jersey, from the Mecca. Cannot stress how awesome this venue is for independent wrestling, and we are very, very proud to be one of the sponsors. The main event for that match, we have got Marcus Mathers taking on Titus Alexander for the Key to the East Championship. And just announced yesterday, Joseph A-Game Alexander bringing his madness to the Mecca as well. It is going to be an absolutely phenomenal show. You guys do not want to miss this. But coming up this weekend, it is finally here, and according to Matt Griffin, we do have to act accordingly. Scenic City Invitational is happening this weekend. Chattanooga, Tennessee, we will be down there. 16 wrestlers, 2 nights, 1 winner. Phenomenal tournament. Got everybody from Adam Priest to the good Dr. Landon Hale, the former WWE Tag Team Champion Paul London, one called Manders, Rachel Armstrong. This is a who's who of talent. This is one of the preeminent tournaments in independent wrestling. And before that all kicks off, we've got the Scenic City Invitational Future Showcase presented by Action Wrestling. We have had Cody Fluffman, Tim Bosby, Tyler Stevens, Jameson Shook, Casey Owens on the show talking about this tournament, Anakin Murphy as well. This is just going to be a phenomenal weekend of just great wrestling. But before all of that kicks off, tomorrow night, the night before, TWE in Chattanooga is hosting a massive event with an absolutely stacked lineup. And there is a double main event sponsored by, who would that be sponsored by, Choops?
I'll give you one guess.
For those that don't know, That's us, the Wrestling Junkies podcast.
No
Double
shit.
main event. Darian Bankston taking on Daniel McCobb as that retirement tour is coming to a close here. And we also have Jaden Newman taking on Paul London. So you guys do not want to miss this. All of these shows are streaming live on IWTV. If you don't have it, get it. It's $10. It's just, come on.
It's easy.
You can't beat it. You absolutely cannot beat it. But what do I know? What do I know? But I think, I've done just about enough shilling, I think. So it is time to introduce our first guest of the night.
Returning guest.
Yes. We have the absolute pleasure of welcoming back a truly inspirational and talented individual. He's a fierce advocate for LGBTQ rights in professional wrestling and has been actively involved in important reforms needed within the Oklahoma State Athletic Commission since his last appearance on our show. He's been making waves across various promotions, and he will be taking on the legendary Warhorse for Fountain City Pro Wrestling this weekend. Please welcome back to the show, Logan Knight. Logan, what is going on, man? How are you?
What's up, guys? I'm doing good.
Good.
By the sounds
Great to see you.
Y'all are doing great as well.
I need this escape, man. I need it. I'm so ready to talk to wrestling.
Well, Logan, welcome back, man. We already said it. It's been a very busy few months for you. How is your summer going? Let's just start there.
My summer's going pretty well. A lot of things are just flowing and moving more so than I expected. I did not, I did not think I would ever get the chance to wrestle Warhorse when I first started wrestling, but it's one of those, well, here we are now type of moments. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to that. He's someone like a lot of us indie guys have always looked up to, and so getting a chance to wrestle him's pretty great, but I'm not going to try to ask his too much because I am trying to win a match out here. Yeah. But no, there's a lot of things going on. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to talk about it with y'all.
Good, because I'm gonna get right to it, Mr. Cincinnati. I'm gonna get right to it. Let's get the elephant out of the room.
Floor is yours.
Yep, the Oklahoma State Athletic Commission. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. How have you done, and what impact have you made?
Yeah, so I think I may have talked about it on this podcast before. All the stuff got moving and jumping, but basically it got to the point where we didn't have that hearing anymore for all the suspended wrestlers when everything was getting pretty hot with the media and just the attention that the Athletic Commission was getting, not only from our end, but also AEW and Nyla Rose. They were they weren't too happy with the situation. It's been kind of 2 months of dead air, so to say, 2 to 3 months of dead air, because obviously we're just waiting for the meeting. There was the meeting today, actually, at 1 p.m. with the Athletic Commission, and honestly, it went a lot better than I thought it was going to go, because a lot of the older guys here in Oklahoma, they make the commission to seem like, they make it out to seem like it's the boogeyman, it's like this unbeatable entity. That's very much not the case at all, and there are actually a lot of new people on the commission board starting this year. So I think they were mostly coming from a place of misunderstanding. They didn't really understand that was really even an issue to begin with, because these aren't people that are in professional wrestling. These are just people that, they're regular everyday people that have to regulate sports, and they have to come up with sets of rules, and more specifically combat sports. So they kind of just look at everything with that broad umbrella term of combat sports. They don't really have a way to differentiate pro wrestling from, boxing, MMA, all those cage fights and stuff like that. And even today at the commission meeting, not only were they voting on the male versus female rule for pro wrestling, they were voting on if they would even allow slap boxing in the state of Oklahoma. So this isn't like completely a one-sided thing. Obviously, professional wrestling is getting a huge hit because it's, I'm not gonna lie, it's not a sanctioned sport, or unfortunately our outcomes are predetermined and it's all like a performance. So we don't need to be regulated like a combat sport. And that's most of what the point was today. I think they're kind of seeing that and getting on the same page. I could see on their faces that they wanted to hear us out and be on the same page and figure out a way to get past that. That being said, there was supposed to be a vote today. However, after I spoke to them and another fellow wrestler, Brandon Groom, who actually trained me, he was at the meeting today and spoke on the same situation. They could tell just, from the passion of it all, that it's something we feel strongly about and happen to know a lot about, because I'm currently in a tag team with a female. I've told them it's worked everywhere we've gone, and it hasn't caused any issues. We haven't hurt any females. We haven't hurt any men, but that's the liability with wrestling in the first place. Anybody can get hurt at any time. Anything can happen in wrestling. Anything can happen in life, really. So trying to, stop liability before there's even a fair chance of it happening is a quick way for things to get very, very stale in Oklahoma. And that's kind of what I was presenting to them. I told them that it becomes incredibly hard for the females and the trans wrestling talent alike to even develop here in their home state, because, I'm not going to lie, like, very little women like professional wrestling enough to go and pursue it themselves. So it's very, very hard to get lady trainees in the first place. So when you have the ladies, it's always them wrestling each other. There's not any actual growth. They don't get to wrestle the dudes. They have to, travel the next state over. And 9 times out of 10, they just end up working each other again in the state over. So it's causing an issue for growth in the state and also just being more progressive. The Nyla Rose situation was one instance that, I think they could tell they had royally fucked up, because now they don't have the second most money-making company in the United States coming to Oklahoma anymore. So that's going to be a huge loss that they see this quarter that I'm sure they'll end up reviewing. To get that train back on track, though, they didn't vote today. That was kind of the biggest step on the toes that we felt. They said that if they were a little bit dumber, they would have voted today, but they could tell that we're pretty passionate and they want to see it firsthand. So they're going to be sending a lot of commissioners to unsanctioned shows in the areas surrounding Native American lands and Wichita, Kansas. I even suggested to them so they can come and personally see, me and Stormy tag together and see what that looks like in person. They seemed very keen on the idea. The fact that I offered to, pay gas money or a ticket for them to come to Wichita to just see what it could be like, I think they could tell that there was enough passion behind that sentiment alone that they could probably check it out and reconfigure some thoughts. They said they were mostly for it. They want to vote again in October, but it looks pretty likely. The only issue that is coming up from all this is that even though that they will be voting in October, with it most likely being a yes, from what they've said, there has to be another vote in February in front of the Oklahoma State Legislature, because this is a part of a bigger overarching rule than just getting a rule overturned. It's buried under state legislature. So we have that vote again in February. And if everything goes well, then by the 2025-2026 licensing period, which will be July 1st of 2025 to June 30th of the next year, the rules will be overturned.
That's good. That's certainly
craziness, man.
Yeah.
It's. Go ahead, Eric. It still boggles my mind.
The first question that comes to mind is prior to your offer to essentially pay for them to check out a show to show how safe it is, had there, at least in your experience working shows in Oklahoma, had there ever been any presence of a state athletic commission official during any of the shows that you worked, or it just seems that that would be a little bit of a disconnect if you have to go out of your way to get them to come, if that this is the issue here.
So for years previous, they have what they call inspectors who they send out to every wrestling event in Oklahoma. It becomes difficult for the commission to do it themselves because Oklahoma is quite a large state and we have quite a few promotions. I would say we have 9 wrestling promotions currently. And so there's a lot of work to do every weekend as far as, being there and making sure things are safe and everybody's licenses are up to date, yada, yada, that kind of thing. That being said, the inspectors don't really do their job too hard, or they haven't the last year or two. Oftentimes the inspectors will show up. They'll check everybody's licenses, see the ring is even mildly safe, and they'll get their payday and they'll leave. They don't stay there to make sure things go smoothly. They just kind of assume that we know what we're doing and that things are going to go well. It feels like the only times they ever do stay is when we really do some wacky shit, like the hardcore stuff. Like that was one of their main points today was, well, are you going to let women do hardcore stuff? And I was like, well, the women are taught to do the hardcore stuff the same as we are. So why are we differentiating it? It doesn't matter if a male is throwing them through thumbtacks or a female's throwing them through thumbtacks. That shit still hurts either way. But like, it has nothing to do with genitalia or what you identify as. It's the pain is all the same, brother. That's what I was trying to get.
So what can, like, people outside of Oklahoma, like me and Eric, what can we do to help this? Like, what can we do to support this?
I guess just keep trying to contact them as far as like emailing or other, like calls and other stuff like that. I know there were a few people who sent in personal letters of, them defending transgender people wrestling in the state of Oklahoma, and gave like a whole, like, they had like a science thesis of being like, this doesn't make any sense. And like that was pretty helpful. I think, I don't know. I think we've gotten this far just because people are speaking up. So you never know what could happen if people continue to speak up. I mean, we're not necessarily like, torches and pitchforks anymore, but at the same time, they still aren't completely moved in the sense of they are wanting to gather more information and look at more scenarios and see things more in person. And I'm completely fine with that if they want to make an educated decision, because beforehand we haven't made any sort of educated decision. So the fact that we're even trying to do that is a lot better. And that's what I'm going to have to explain to a lot of people. I'm going to tell a lot of people here in the state, because I went to sleep after I came back from the commission. So my phone is loaded with, hey, what did they say? Hey, what did they say? Hey, what did they say? And it's gonna. I know I'm going to piss a lot of people off by saying this, but nothing is happening today. That's just how it is with these changes. I wish I could, build Rome in a day or take out an entire state athletic commission in a day, but it's going to take about a year, and people are going to have to, get over it and accept that, because no one else before had even tried to speak to them. And I feel like if there was even maybe an attempt, and everyone wasn't so damn lazy or, whatever the reason may be, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. But hell, if I get some free swag off of it, I'll take it. Whatever,
Say, you should tell me there's free swag involved. I'm in. No.
So on a lighter note, as we come towards the end of our time here, you've got Warhorse this weekend. Any final words for him, and then tell everybody what else you have coming up this summer?
I just hope he's ready. I know he was just as hungry as I was. I'm about 5 years in. He was one of the most hottest up and coming indie stars that we've had in the last couple of years, or even the last decade. And I sort of aim to make the same. I am called the Spotlight because I am seeking the spotlight. He's been super nihilistic as of late, and I am a bundle of fire and joy. And if he is not careful, I will light that ass up. So I hope he is. A lot of people are concerned for my well-being and health going forward into this match. I can promise it probably won't look good, but I'm gonna give it the old college try. I'll at least make him worry, for the future. I'm going for the W, but if I need to instill some fear and worry, I can do that too. I'm looking forward to the match, though. I honestly had no clue it was even going to happen. Stormy couldn't make the July date for Fountain City Pro out of random. I guess we forgot to tell her the date. Whoopsie daisy. But it ended up in my favor. So I will gladly take this match and ass beating and learn from it. Saturday, I also will be driving from Kansas City all the way to Lubbock, Texas to have a BCW Texas Championship match, which that is one of the companies I've been working for the last year and a half. Traveling a lot, trying to, see what West Texas is all about, see what's up. And that was my main goal from the start, was to win a championship. Got caught up in some, Vince McMahon-ish bad management taking away my opportunities type angle. But I came out on top, and now I got that title match. So trying to come home with a Texas championship. It's if all goes according to plan, it'll be my first championship this year, which I had a couple last year, so I'm wondering where my time went. What am I doing with my life? No, it's fine. I plan on being the BCW Texas Heavyweight Champion by the time I come back to Oklahoma. But with all this driving and all this, nihilism and warhorsing happening, maybe not. Maybe this kid's got a fair chance. I'm excited though. I have a lot of things to look forward to coming up. I recently went on a GCW trip to the West Coast with my friend Sam Stackhouse, and it was enlightening to say the least. I've never been through the West Coast, so getting to see the West Coast was incredible. I'm super thankful to Brett and the GCW crew for letting me, come to those shows and hang out and help do what a GCW does. I got to do some security and other, important roles. I was looking to get a match, obviously, chasing that dragon all the way to LA from the middle of the country. That's you would think you'd get rewarded, but that's the grind. Pro wrestling is a grind, and I'm going to keep on going because of that. I will be going to GCW Louisville next week and GCW St. Louis, and you never know, something might happen. I think I was pretty close in Phoenix a couple weeks ago, but card subject to change all the time, and apparently scrambles don't need to happen every GCW show, which I think is whack.
Well, if we're lucky, you'll be in Cleveland. GCW is going to be in Cleveland. You won't be there. I was just pointing out the fact
I will be in Cleveland, but I just won't be there.
But you won't be at GCW, so this doesn't concern you. I was just going to say, if we get lucky, he'll be at GCW in Cleveland because some of us from the main event are going to be there. The floor is yours now, Chris.
Okay, couple of things. A bundle of joy and fire. That's the thing. That's the first time I've heard that combined. So amazing. And then, as a fellow cat dad, I have to know what's the name of the cat.
Okay. The Orange Boy. He has a deformed hook tail kind of thing, so we named him Nemo because Little Finn.
Ooh, yes.
My other cat, she's around here somewhere. Her name is Mary Jane because I found her outside of a dispensary.
Oh,
I like
that's
it.
A good one. That's a good one. That's a good one. Sorry, Eric. I had to.
I also watched
the
like a week prior, so I was like, "Oh, that's perfect."
Awesome.
Well, Logan, it was great to see you again. Best of luck, not only this weekend, but with everything that goes on with the State Athletic Commission. Please keep us posted. Everybody, you can follow Logan Knight on X at Logan Knight Pro. I believe that's your Instagram handle as well, if I'm not mistaken. Best of luck, and definitely hope to have you back on before the year's out.
Thank you. I appreciate it, guys. If you can't make it out to see me versus Warhorse this weekend, please go check out, Chattanooga. They have one of the best wrestling scenes in the entire world right now. The Scenic Invitational is what lit a fire under my ass in the first place to travel across the country and to get better and find all these new matchups. Those guys, they rule. Please go watch the SCI tournament. If you can't watch the SCI tournament, those guys up at Love Pro Wrestling, bro, they're cooking up there too. So not to spoil anything, but y'all's next Love Wrestling's dope. But thank you guys for having me on, and go catch some good wrestling this weekend.
Absolutely, great to see you, my friend. Take care. Always a character. Always great to have him on. Yeah.
And they keep going.
The hits keep on coming. Thank you again to Logan Knight. Up next, we have a marvelous guest joining us for the first time. He is one of the hosts of the popular Between Two Beards podcast. He's an insanely talented writer for Love Wrestling Canada, an Alberta-based wrestling content creation outlet. Tonight, we're just diving into the world of wrestling in 2024. There has been some major news that has broken throughout the day. We said his name. He appeared. The Rascals are back in NXT. The world is just blowing up right now, and we had to have him on to talk about it. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Pluggo to the show. Pluggo, what's going on, my friend? How are you?
Good. You guys are too nice. No. Incredible writer. Wow. Shoot. I'm going to just call it a career. No, thank you for having me. The kind words and everything.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome. Absolutely.
I'm glad we could get this worked out. I know I was the bonehead that didn't read the DM correctly, and I was like, whoops. So we were supposed to do this last week, but I think waiting a week worked out. A lot happened. So
Yeah,
Watch
yeah,
it happen.
seriously, it's
Lots
yeah,
going on in wrestling right now. It's a good time for professional wrestling.
Mhm.
yeah, for sure. Before we start diving into the big topics right now, just tell everybody a little bit about you, a little bit about Love Wrestling.
Oh, well, yeah, I obviously, as you said at the top, I'm Pluggo. I do a podcast every Thursday night at 8 p.m. with my co-host JPJ. We call it Between Two Beards. It's a podcast that we masquerade as a wrestling podcast, but there's a lot of times that it doesn't go down that road very often. You know, we just kind of go by the seat of our pants, see what happens. You never know who's going to pop in. We have a very open door policy as well. So it's a lot of fun. So that's over on Love Wrestling CA, over on YouTube and all other social medias. Yeah, and then Love Wrestling, like Logan just said, we're killing it with the wrestling side of things. We got a couple big shows coming up this month. We got one at a ballpark, Slugfest, and then we've got our monthly flagship show, LPW 28. Kylie Ray is coming down. I'm super excited for that.
Yeah.
And then every weekend, either Saturday or Sunday mornings, I do an independent wrestling podcast with my buddy Blair Pacheco called For Exposure over there on Love Wrestling. So I'm always doing something. And then I've got my just personal Facebooks and Twitters and whatnot. So I'm staying busy, I should say.
I like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take the question from Eric.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Pro wrestling here at the Wrestling Junkies podcast. We believe in origin stories, right? Every superhero has one. Every supervillain has one.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get into wrestling?
Oh, well, I think like a lot of us, when I was a kid, I gravitated towards, I always tell people, I started out, I was a WCW kid. Like Nitro was because it was on earlier and it was an extra hour. And I always just fought with the siblings for the TV at 8 o'clock. And then, of course, I graduated, the Monday Night Wars. That's where I grew up. I'm showing my age a little bit here. So just getting into wrestling as a fan, I was a kid, just like everybody else, I think, that gets into this stuff. And then, as your teenage years kind of evolve, right, you kind of fall out of it because you're out doing your thing and a little bit, but you still kind of pay attention, And then, admittedly, for me, if you want the story of how I got here, is that where we're going? Is that okay?
Take wherever you want.
Whatever,
okay.
Yeah.
So admittedly, like I'm a father of 4. And when you have kids, right, you can't really go out as much.
No, you cannot.
So I started to try to dabble in things that I was interested. So I tried the sports writing thing and the sports, but I always said like, that's hard to cover like 162 baseball games a year, right? You have to be in the moment. Once the game's over, nobody's really talking about it. And so then I started watching wrestling and got back in love with it. And then, I think about six years ago now, maybe. Yeah, 6 years ago now, my wife and I, not to bring the mood down super low, we had a miscarriage, and I was just I'm always the type of guy that when stuff happens, I need to keep busy. Yeah. So I jumped into this. I jumped into content creation, started up a page, started slow, gradually have made my way here, and best decision I've ever made, man. I have so much fun with it because wrestling is subjective. Nobody's right. Nobody's wrong. If you like somebody that loses all the time, that doesn't mean they're a bad wrestler. That's just how the stories are going, So, yeah. And then I linked up with Love Wrestling a couple years back. They liked what I was doing. I got with Zach, he was the one that brought me in, talked to Spencer. It's a match made in heaven. We've hit the ground running, and I can't tell you, I've done some of the craziest things I never thought I would do in this space, man. When I started out, just like, I hope people like it. And now I'm like, people are like, we want you to do this, we want you to do that. So, it's been a lot of fun.
I can definitely understand that. I thought we were going to last 5 episodes. So, we've done some.
You have little faith.
I was going to say, I actually started this in complete secrecy because I was like, if I dive into it and then if I started out and I tell everybody, my mother about it, and then I just like 5 episodes in or a month in, I just completely give up on it because it's not actually what I want to do. It's not my passion.
No.
Then I'm going to look silly. So it's funny. I tell this story. I was actually sitting on the couch and I was tweeting about wrestling, and my wife looked at me and I went like this with the phone. Cause I'm kidding. Like I didn't say a word Like I didn't say a word. And she goes, "What are you doing?" And I go, "Nothing." She's like, "Who are you talking to?" And I was like, "This is going to sound incredibly lame, but here's my wrestling page that I do."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Why did you think you needed to keep that from me?" And I was like, "Because I don't even know what it is yet."
Look,
And here I am, just oh man. Now she's the reason that things look the way they look. She's my biggest fan, biggest supporter. She's always my cheerleader for everything that I do. So, hey,
I completely understand. As a married man, it was the same way. Like, hey, I'm going to do a wrestling podcast, and please don't judge me. And she was like, "No, go do it. Have fun." And now she's buying merch, so it's fantastic.
She actually jokes that like I didn't tell her how deep I was into wrestling before I got in, before we got married, and I was like, "Well, duh." I outkicked my coverage. You think I'm going to tell you all my secrets? But no, she's funny. She's actually got really great commentary because she doesn't understand a lot of the stuff like I do. Yeah. And I'll be watching like GCW Backyard Wrestling, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "It's supposed to look that way. It's designed to do there. That's the aesthetic they want." But
100%. Yeah, I took my wife to a Revolver show, and it was Staples versus Skewers, and she's like, "What are we watching?" Just enjoy it. Just enjoy it.
Shout out to Mrs. Pluggo, who is slowly becoming more famous than I am.
Same. Shout out to the podcast mom. Sorry, Eric. Didn't mean to derail your show.
No, it's our show. Oh, it's our show. Come on.
But you're an amazing host. So.
Thanks, buddy. But no, it is definitely time to talk a little bit of wrestling. The big story that is making its way around today is Stephanie Vaquer has withdrawn from CMLL and New Japan and has officially signed with WWE, according to a tweet from Papa HB Shizzle. Pluggo, massive signing for WWE NXT as a whole. Your initial thoughts on hearing this today?
They for a company that doesn't watch AEW, they must have been paying attention to that match at Forbidden Door. I'm just saying. Listen, look, and I'm not knocking them. She's fantastic. I think she really showed out against Mercedes. I think AEW would have loved to have her. So this is a signing for them, and I think it's a great signing for them. And I think a lot of people are going to get to know Stephanie Vaquer. Yeah, see, he's right. I wore the Portland Sea Dogs hat for you. JPJ's in the house, stopping in real quick and saying hi, man. Love that guy. He's all right. He's all right. He better like me. We're spending a week at Cleveland together here soon, meeting for the first time. But yeah, Stephanie Vaquer, that's a great signing for NXT. They just signed Julia out of Stardom. That'd be a good supplement in. I don't know how she fits per se. I think she fits pretty good in NXT, watching what they've been doing, but I'd like to see her go to the main roster. I want to see them sign a woman's talent that they just skip NXT and go to the main roster, but maybe it's not Stephanie, but I like her a lot, that I think she could do it.
Yeah.
Like I said.
Yeah, no, it's AEW had gotten a lot of the big signings recently with Will Ospreay, Okada, Mercedes, WWE getting Julia, and now Vaquer. Kind of feels like we're balancing it out a little bit. And then now this partnership with TNA, of course, we found out today that Jordan Grace's contract is up in January rather than the summer.
So something she had fixed so that she could be done sooner. Yeah.
So you have to assume she's going to be WWE bound, and that may be that person that goes right to the main roster, right?
Yeah.
It's good. It's healthy competition, right? Like, this is exactly what the wrestling business needs right now is two viable places to go work. And this is exciting. I mean, it's exciting to see this. We saw somebody wrestle on an AEW pay-per-view that is now going to go over to NXT, presumably, like we think, with HBK, tweeting that out. But this is cool. We're in a really, really good spot in wrestling right now where we're seeing this game, and wrestling is just amazing at the moment, and I can't speak on it enough.
Yeah, I mean, is insanely quick. How I see this story probably 11 or 12 today. And I think it might have been Corey Brennan on Fightful. If not, I'm sorry if I incorrectly attributed that to him. But the rumor, and then to seeing Shawn Michaels tweet this out hours later. I mean, this happened quickly, and it's just it. I don't think I've seen somebody who was on an AEW show get snapped up by WWE this quickly in all of the 5 years that the companies have really been kind of going head to head. So as far as her starting in NXT, I'm okay with this because one, the logic is there, especially with Julia too, just trying to get them used to WWE's lifestyle, travel schedule, etc. A lot easier to do that on NXT than Monday Night Raw because even though, yes, state's full time, it's only the one venue that you generally have to travel to. And then occasionally they will do PLEs outside of Florida. So it gets her acclimated to it. And I mean, we've been talking about this since the Women's North American Championship has been introduced, is they need mid-card talent that is ready to go to challenge. There's no disrespect to your Carly Brights of the world that they're really starting to highlight and bring into the fold, but they're not necessarily ready to carry a title program with Kelani Jordan yet. Kelani is phenomenal in the ring, but she's still young and new to the wrestling business. So having somebody like a Stephanie Vaquer, having somebody like a Julia that's also integrating into the roster too with these NIL talents that they're signing, it does have a nice, it's a nice mix, almost akin to what we were seeing in the OG Black and Gold of bringing in these indie talents to balance out these performance center signings of people that they want to build from scratch. Especially with having a pedigree of Japan and Mexico. I think that she'll take to WWE like a fish to water. Yeah.
It's a great signing. It's fantastic. Like you said, it's good for the business, whether you like AEW, whether you like WWE, whether you like both, there's something for everybody in professional wrestling right now, which I love. And I can't believe there's people out there trying to tear one or the other down. Just be happy that these people have places to work.
Yeah. I mean, I can remember 2012 2009 to 2016 WWE, and that's all we had. Go back and watch that and then compare to what we have now. Like, be happy we have amazing wrestling right now. Like,
right. The Authority, come on.
Don't just
I didn't dislike the Authority.
Oh, don't even.
I didn't hate it. I like authority figures in I like authority figures in wrestling. Hey, I got time. But I cleared my schedule for you guys.
I like Nick Aldis.
Nick Aldis is great. I
like Adam Pearce.
I don't like Adam Pearce has no control over that roster whatsoever. If he was a college football coach, he'd be fired for lack of institutional control because that dude I would have quit on Monday.
He told CM Punk, you have to stay home next week.
You think CM Punk's staying home next week, podcast?
Hey,
come on.
I do, because he got fired from the last place. He didn't stay home.
He ain't staying home. The only way Drew and Punk ends is in a murder.
That's okay. If it happens at SummerSlam, I'll be there, so I'll be happy.
Yeah, me too.
That's perfect. And this is a brilliant segue into this because Monday Night on Raw, we saw Seth Rollins come face to face with CM Punk. Rollins has cost him, at least at the time of the match, cost him the chance to compete for the world title going forward so long as Priest held the title. Punk made it clear, this had nothing to do with you. I was getting my pound of flesh for somebody who went after my family. You just happened to get caught in the crossfire. Rollins says actions have consequences. You cost me my title. The second you're cleared, I'm going to put you back on the shelf. Podcast Dad, I'm going to start with you. This rivalry, we've talked about it on our show a lot this week as well, but what does this story look like? Let's just say from SummerSlam to Survivor Series. Let's just talk the rest of 2024 so far.
Man, you're gonna hate my answer. I have no idea.
That's all right.
We talked about it. Is Seth Rollins not gonna be on SummerSlam? Like, do we really think
he'll be on the card?
But I'm just saying, do we think that's gonna happen? Like, does this turn into a triple threat? What does this happen? You have to assume announcing Bad Blood on the anniversary of the first Bad Blood, we're going to get a Hell in a Cell match.
No.
Is that Punk and Drew? Like, it makes the most sense. but we're using that word logic in pro wrestling, and that never really works. So I don't know if that is going to happen. But like we've talked about, like the main event scene, there is like five people right now just orbiting each other, and I love it. Like it doesn't seem like it's just that stagnant of you're the champion, here's your challenger for the month. Here's your champion, here's your challenger for the month. It's like there's multiple people around this. So yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. And part of me goes, I love that because I don't know, and I'm going to be surprised at what happens, and I'm going to like what happens. I think ultimately at SummerSlam, they could turn this into kind of like a number one contenders match for Bad Blood. But I don't know. I just don't know. And I don't know if you can keep Seth off the card with as big of a star as he is.
Pluggo, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think you said it pretty good there. Like I like the idea of there's multiple challengers. Everybody wants the belt because, like you said, they used to, if you weren't in the program, you didn't even mention it. Yeah. Which you want people coming after Priest. I personally enjoyed Punk's interaction in that match. Drew's failed cash in. I thought it added more. I know some people thought it was a hat on a hat. You didn't need it. But I liked it because, like I said, the story was Damian couldn't get it done by himself. He always needed some luck. So what did he get? He got some luck. Drew got screwed once again. So now he has the shortest world championship reign and one of the shortest Money in the Bank cash-ins of all time on his resume. Yep. That just pisses him off. Then you've got Seth, who came back, got cleared, and admittedly, like surprisingly early. I was assuming he was going to be out for a while. So he comes back, immediately gets the shot. Punk screws him, and we know about the beef that they have. So not only that, so you have all these people with issues with amongst each other, and then they're all mad at Punk too. Now Damian's not as pissed as Punk based on Monday, but because he's got some other things going on. Yeah, but I can tell the whole storyline, like you got lucky. It's better to be lucky than good sometimes. You know, that's eating at him because he wants to. I love it, man. I was sitting there on Money in the Bank and I was having a good old time. I know some people were mad about it. I look at the field and go, yeah, you could have probably convinced me of any of the other five guys to hold that briefcase, but Drew getting screwed right away in Toronto. Now, I want nothing more than to see that match at SummerSlam. And like you said, you'll find a home for Seth Rollins. He'll figure something out. He'll get his shot some way, somehow. Maybe it'll be a triple threat, like you said, number of contenders, but you can't keep him off the card.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's just a promo segment in the ring, I mean, that's the bare minimum, I think, of what we can expect for Seth Rollins on the card. But I like the idea that, again, we do have all of these challengers sort of orbiting around the title, but this is a true kind of triple threat program that they're building. I didn't necessarily feel that way this time last week on the show, just because we hadn't seen, what was going to happen to Money in the Bank yet. But the fact that, CM Punk going after that pound of flesh and Drew McIntyre has reminded us all of, remember when you came back in Chicago and Seth Rollins was cutting a promo on you and Corey Graves had to hold you back? And we kind of just forgot about that because the tricep tear and everything they did with Drew set up that program, and they really didn't have a whole lot they could do other than to, all right, let's keep fanning those flames. We've got plenty of time because Seth Rollins is tied up with The Rock and Roman Reigns, and then also had the knee injury on top of that too. So it has, the injury bug has kind of given this story time to breathe, and for all three of these guys to set up their role in this story, that at this point, and I'll put this out there right now, let's not be surprised if we see a strange Bedfellows tag team match of some sort. We know that CM Punk and Drew McIntyre don't like each other. You're not going to put them on the same tag team. Rollins and CM Punk, however, you can do that with, because they've not necessarily, I mean, up until Money in the Bank, they've not had a reason to put their hands on each other other than what Phil said outside of WWE for the last 10 years. So you at least still have enough there that you can at least try to see if they'll coexist. And if it doesn't, then you can continue to blow that story up. But I don't know. I mean, accident or no accident, this is a triple threat feud. And if it ended with all three of them inside Hell in a Cell, I'm not mad at it one bit.
Well, plus you got Bash at Berlin coming up too after SummerSlam. So whoever wins that triple threat. If it ends up that way at SummerSlam, maybe that gets us. I'm assuming we all think Gunther's winning at SummerSlam to walk into Berlin with the belt.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good luck. I don't know if I want that.
Yeah. So, fantasy book that
real quick. I have to put this up. Mrs. Pluggo says.
Oh, hi, Mrs. Well, she must have heard us talking about her. Her ears started burning. She's like, "Let me make my appearance." Hi, superstar. Hi, honey.
That's awesome.
Hello. So, fantasy book that tag match. Who's the fourth guy?
So we got Drew and Drew needs a partner. Nobody likes Drew though. No. You could do Damian Priest if you wanted to do that on a Raw. You could do that and have him involved because he's got the beef too.
Yeah.
So you could go Drew and Priest versus Punk and Rollins just for some funsies if Adam Pearce wanted to get wild with it.
Or even Gunther, honestly.
Yeah, you could do that too. We haven't seen a whole lot of Gunther since King of the Ring, and he needs to get in the mix.
Yeah, hell, even if he hadn't gotten hurt, I'd have even thrown in as far as a dark horse, Ludwig Kaiser. I mean, they seemed ready to make him, really give him his time to shine, and being the Ring General's proxy while making a name for himself against 3 former world champions, or at least in that same space, could have been a good way to use him. But I'm not sure how long this arm injury is.
Okay. All right. So we talked about one guy on the SummerSlam card. Let's talk about a guy that I don't see on the SummerSlam card, and I don't know what he's going to do at SummerSlam. And that's Jey Uso. He is over like Rover with the crowd, right? Like everything he does, the crowd eats up. Do we see him at SummerSlam? Do we see him get involved with the Bloodline storyline? Like what happens with Jey Uso now that he doesn't have the Money in the Bank? And I'll leave it to Pluggo to start.
Ouch. That's tough. Somebody else go. No. I don't know. Like you said, he's over. He's got. I have this thing where I'm always like, not everybody has to make the card. Now again, and everybody will make it a case, but he's got nothing going on. I don't know where this Bloodline thing's going. I know that they're mentioning Roman a little bit more now on SmackDown. They're starting to Solo's declaring that he's the tribal chief now. Roman's out, so he's calling his shot. So maybe Roman calls up his friends. Is it too soon? Is it too quick to make that happen in 3 weeks? Maybe. But the problem with Jey, he's over, but every big moment they've given him, he's come up short. And at some point, he's got to win something, right? Like, I mean, you can have the coolest intro in the game. Like, I don't want to bring it up, and I'm not making an apples and apples comparison, but remember how over Enzo and Cass were?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, are you becoming in that world where you're just really over with the crowd? You're going to get aside. I love when he kicks off Raw, but I don't know what you do with him if you're going to keep Money in the Bank. He lost his world title shot. He lost the Intercontinental Championship to Gunther. It's like, all right, what are you going to do with him? So unless Jimmy's not healthy, I don't think you do the Bloodline thing. I think that's the linchpin here is like, is he ready? Is Jimmy ready? Because you need Jimmy, because it can't be just Jey and Roman. So your guess is as good as mine. Is I guess what I'm saying there.
Yeah, I mean, I think the odds are pretty good. We'll see Roman return at SummerSlam, and I think that is appropriate here because, I mean, I think we've been saying that since before WrestleMania. Bloodline gets War Games. I mean, it'll be old versus new in that match for sure. I think what I don't want to see in this reunion of the OG Bloodline is this immediate kumbaya. There is still a lot of stuff that they all have to work through with each other in order to get back on the same page. So that definitely has to be an element to this story. And that's something that's going to help new Bloodline out is if we're worried about whether the Usos and Roman and the Wise Men can all get back to one accord, they're going to take advantage of that. They're just going to see the crumbling as opposed to these roots that run deep because they're family and have grown up together. And eventually we do have to get to the families fight. We've had our time. It is what it is. Let's put this in the rear view in order to deal with this new threat that we have in WWE right now. So I think as far as SummerSlam goes for Jey, I wouldn't have any problem of him kind of, again, orbiting that story, even if it's just to show him backstage watching that Roman make this return or Roman coming from the back and they just kind of see each other. Let's start. Yeah. Yeah, that is more than enough use for Jey Uso in this circumstance if it means the larger story of putting OG Bloodline back together to get the Survivor Series.
Let's just be honest here. We're all just patiently waiting for Zilla Fatu to get some more matches under his belt and get up to this because he's coming, and I can't wait.
Yeah, I am patiently waiting for a Duke Hudson heel turn still.
You're not going to get it.
Yes, I am.
Stop.
It could happen.
It's not.
I've been waiting for over a year for this.
So you want to talk about waiting over? Oh man, I had a weekend. My boy Marco Stunt returned.
Yeah.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Every podcast I have been on since I started doing live podcasts, since he stopped wrestling, and since Christian unceremoniously kicked him out of Jurassic Express, I have always picked him as the surprise return. And Saturday night, finally, the prodigal son returned to Collision, and I was like, let's go.
So what Pluggo's saying is there's a chance.
There's always a chance.
There's always a chance.
Just stand by your convictions. Own if you want to do Hudson heel turn, you keep putting into the ether, and eventually it'll happen. Because I have done a lot of great things in professional wrestling, more than I've ever dreamed of. But my phone had not lit up as much as when Marco's stunt returned, because everybody that knows me knows that's my boy. And I was so happy.
So are you saying that all we have to do is believe?
It's all you have to do is believe. Believe. Joe Hendry.
Oh man, we're gonna get to singing. Yeah, that was.
I'll sing. I'll
sing.
I'll dance. I'll do whatever you guys. I'm fine. I have no shame in my game. Well,
that was awesome, dude. He keeps getting the pop. He keeps getting that. That's
I'm just happy he was on the screen for more than 30 seconds, like that battle royal. I was mad about that.
That's how they got you.
I know.
That's how they got you.
Yeah, podcast dad had to calm me down too. Yeah,
I got yelled at by JPJ's like it's part of a bigger story, and I'm like, no, Frankie Kazarian didn't deserve more time than my man Joe Hendry. That's ridiculous.
I haven't seen Frankie Kazarian since.
Good.
I have seen Joe Hendry.
No disrespect to Frankie Kazarian, but
none.
Who's like, you know what? I'm really excited for Frankie Kazarian tonight on NXT. Nobody.
Hey man,
no
if this was 2007, I would be.
If this was, but right now in 2020, right? Or 2024, whatever year was.
Don't say 2020. That was a bad year.
That's a bad year. PTSD.
Gentlemen, I do want to ask you this, and Pluggo, we'll start with you. Joe Hendry has he's been viral for the better part of several months now. He's finally been a part of this WWE TNA crossover here. Mm-hmm. What do you think Joe Hendry's ceiling is in NXT?
Do you want the Pluggo answer or the journalistic answer? World champion. Ethan Page can win it, right? Give me Joe Hendry, Ethan Page. Let me have that. It depends. I put it out today in the whole NXT TNA crossover, and a lot of people aren't feeling it in the sense that TNA is not getting it really any benefit out of this, and they're always losing the matches and stuff. So there's that. So I don't know if they'll actually do that. Like I was very big on put the title on Jordan Grace just for the value of like, look, if we're going to do this, because you can tell me you're going to have crossover and then one side always wins. And then I go, well, you're having crossover and these are cool matches. But if nobody's actually winning them on the other side, then it's kind of predictable, even though, like I said, the matches are cool. So I would like to see them really push Joe Hendry. Maybe I don't think he can beat Obafemi. That's for sure. I don't think anybody's beaten Obafemi. So the North American title's out. So it had to be the world title, or he could get in a tag team situation, but I don't know. So I think they're just going to have some fun with it. Joe Hendry, like you said, incredibly over. Fantastic. He got himself over getting that song on iTunes and Apple Music and blowing it up. And he's been killing it in TNA since he debuted. I mean, you tell me what you think. Like, the sky's the limit here. Is there someone in NXT right now that he could beat that's notable enough where it like means something?
Yeah. No.
Look, Trick Williams.
I think, and I've talked about it a bunch. And you're wearing a hat, right, of a minor league baseball team.
Yeah.
If you're TNA, why not be the minor league to WWE? Like, what does that hurt you? Like, you are getting so much exposure right now with Joe Hendry being on NXT. With, you have Slammiversary coming up, and he is in the main event. People are going to pay to see that now because they want to see, oh, this guy was on NXT. Now let's go check out and see what he's doing in TNA.
Yeah.
Same thing with Jordan Grace. Like, that's your Knockouts champion. People are going to want to go watch her now that they know she's in TNA. So if you're TNA, you're at the point that you've been around for how long now? 20 years?
Yeah.
22 years, something like that. Like, if you're a feeder system to the WWE, take it. If they are going to promote the hell out of you, take it.
I will say that, yes, if it benefits TNA in the sense that it does bring in viewers and the WWE doesn't go full hands-on, because you have that feeder. It's called NXT. Because I like what TNA is doing. I enjoy the product more now than I have probably in its entire existence. There's a lot of great talented individuals down there. I just don't want them to mess with the formula too much and become this like TNA loses all the time to WWE and DQT. But if you're TNA and you want the most bang for your buck, that isn't a bad idea. It's not a terrible idea.
Yeah, I mean, because realistically, you're losing what? Jordan Grace and Joe Hendry, right? Like, right now, and you have MSK kind of coming in, but I don't think we think long-term MSK is coming in the WWE. But you have, we saw last night a Brooks Jensen trying to make an impact.
Yeah.
Right. So
Charlie Dempsey, I think, has a match coming up at a taping or at Slammiversary. Yeah.
I think you're going to get
if he can get away with the murder that he committed last night.
No.
Well,
that TNA that NXT parking lot is
you got to stay away from it. Pour one out for Hideo Itami.
Yeah. Oh, life was never the same.
Murder is very big in wrestling right now. It's a big thing that people are trying and doing. And
TNA's familiar with that.
Yeah, TNA knows what's going on. I liked MSK. I like the MSK reunion. I like the Rascals being on last night. I think Trey Miguel is one of the best wrestlers that maybe doesn't get enough credit for what he can do in a ring. So I'm all for it. I love the crossovers. I love the partnerships. Like I said, for me personally, I would just like to see, like, if you're going to do this, let's let TNA get a couple, even if they're little matches, let them get a couple. Like this tag match next week with Gallus. If Gallus wins, I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah. No,
why do it?
That's just a marked tweet. Like, if Gallus wins, I'm going to be pissed.
Is that's me? Am I marking out right now?
No, I sorry, pinned tweet. I don't know the lingo.
Oh, do I? Yeah. Oh, Gallus. Here, when Obafemi a couple pay-per-views ago or PLEs ago, whatever you call them, destroyed Gallus by himself, I was done. I was like, you guys are no longer a threat to me. You guys are I will never pick you to win anything. Obafemi just destroyed 3 grown-ass men all by himself. And you guys... Yeah, and then the next night they came out and won a match, and I was like, what?
And we're talking about, and we've talked a lot about, okay, what other names could potentially cross over? And we've also talked about, okay, who could be next to realistically challenge Obafemi? From the TNA side of things, 2 names come to mind, Moose and Josh Alexander. I mean, because so far when we really look at this crossover, Joe Hendry, Jordan Grace, because those are the ones that are kind of, this is kind of their job interview, essentially, to see if they're, if they're people that WWE may want to bring in. But outside of that, Frankie Kazarian in this Battle Royal, having seen MSK, and then Ash by Elegance, who was Dana Brooke 15 minutes ago. But as far as true names of TNA, I mean, those are the 2 that come to mind that we've still yet to see on TV. Who's to say that somebody from NXT won't get in the ring with Nick Namath or Mustafa Ali as well? But I agree. I think that for this story to have any sort of legitimacy, unlike invasion angles that we've seen before, there need to be some wins or at least one title change in TNA's favor, I think. And if there is this working relationship that there really shouldn't be too much of a concern of, oh, this other company has won a WWE championship. That's going to get people talking and wanting them to tune in to see it on
Exactly.
TNA TV and vice versa.
Could you imagine the headline if Jordan Grace beat Roxanne Perez? Like, you'd be like, oh,
I thought she was going to do it.
and then you figure out a way to do it at Slammiversary, and you keep the story going. And
Yeah.
I picked her too. I if you guys want to live in a wild world, make a joke that WWE should bring in this Nick Nemeth guy because he looks an awful lot like Dolph Ziggler, and the internet will tell you how stupid you are because they're the same guy. Way to keep kayfabe alive, wrestling fans. But yeah, I'm all for it. Slammiversary, like, I'm excited to see Slammiversary. TNA has become more of an appointment view. I don't maybe watch it right when it airs because of just logistic reasons and the fact that I do my show at the same time that they do theirs. But I always make sure to catch it over the weekend and keep up on it and keep tabs because, like, there's just a lot of great, like, Masha Slamovich is fantastic, Killer Kelly, Speedball Mike Bailey. You can go down the list of people in TNA that just are fantastic.
Yeah. No, hands down. One more topic before we get out of here tonight. Let's talk a little Judgment Day. Dom almost gave into temptation Monday night, and right as he did, This Is My Brutality hit. Mommy is back, and Mommy is pissed. This is Dominic is his father, Eddie Guerrero's son, because we've also seen Eddie run after China very similar to this over the years. Yes, I am dating myself with my wrestling references. So what? I'm a wrestling junkie. Pluggo, your thoughts on the Liv Morgan revenge tour thus far?
It's thirsty, isn't it? Like, it's thirsty.
That's probably the best word.
I joke. I have to joke all the time. I'm like, I swear, honey, this is professional wrestling. It's not what you think it is. But it's been good. Like, with Rhea's unfortunate injury, I think they had to pivot, right? They definitely had to pivot. She took some time off. They gave it to Liv. She's been on top of it. The distension within the Judgment Day itself, like the little mannerisms that Finn's been doing, has been like, when he's like, yes, boss, whatever you need. Like, he's started to defect. I actually thought at one point, and I still have an outside shot, that Finn and Liv are working together.
Yeah.
Because Liv's whole premise isn't to keep is to destroy everything that Rhea Ripley loves, and that's Dom. That's the Judgment Day. She's been able to get titles for Finn and JD McDonough. The stuff with Dominic Mysterio is wild to me. Look, man, if you're gonna cheat, don't do it in front of millions of people. She's watching the show. But then again, like, why isn't Rhea calling him and FaceTiming him and talking to him? Like, and then Liv's just out there. Like, that relationship is wild.
Yeah.
If you're gonna cheat, don't cheat on Rhea Ripley, because she could kill you and the lady you're cheating with, right? So, not that I condone cheating, but yeah, Rhea's back. She's gonna murder. So I'm surprised we didn't get more physicality. They cut it real quick last night. Like, I thought we would see something a little bit more. But she looked pissed, but she also looked upset, right? Mm-hmm. Like, that's her Latino heat. That's her, and he's out here about to kiss this woman after she just helped him, though, beat his dad for the first time, right?
Yeah.
What a bunch of layers to this thing. Like, as goofy as it may seem on the surface, it's been well done.
Very well. Yeah.
I catch that. Yeah.
Yeah. I've loved all of this so far. I think Liv should beat Rhea that first title defense. Because, like you said, Pluggo, like, she's not in it for the championship. She is in it to destroy everything Rhea wanted and everything Rhea loved. That Judgment Day, we see the Finn Balor turn coming. So Judgment Day is going to break. Dominic, that aspect of her life is going to break. She has her title. We're going to see that true just click in Rhea Ripley, where it's just going to all break down. And we're going to see that moment where she just destroys everything, just goes scorched earth on everything. Mm-hmm. And like you said, it was subtle, right? She was upset. We haven't seen pissed.
Right.
I'm waiting to see pissed Rhea Ripley. And I think if Liv Morgan can beat her, maybe with a little help from Dom, we will see pissed Rhea Ripley.
Yeah, or even unintentional help from Dom, because that has been Dom's story this entire time, even with Liv pursuing Becky for the Women's World Championship, is that some of those defenses were just sheer happenstance that one chain of events leads to Liv taking the title. The question I have for you guys, and Pluggo, I'll start with you, is, as far as this, this splinter from Judgment Day, do we see this full-on implosion before Rhea gets to that title match with Liv to take her title back, or are we waiting a little bit to do that?
We'll see. I think next week you're gonna see like Damien's gonna be happy to see her. Finn she might be pissed. It all depends on how Rhea wants to play. I think you're gonna wait a little bit. I think Liv is gonna dangle the carrot of the title match and do the whole "you just got back, get to the back of the line, yada yada yada" type deal. Mm-hmm. I think you'll see that. And like you said, I think maybe that first defense at SummerSlam seems like the move, and maybe there's some shenanigans or Liv gets disqualified. We end up with like some type of cage match. But I think the lead up to this, because I think, like you said, Liv has been helping Finn and JD McDonough. They won tag titles, so she's proving her worth in a group she's not in. She's getting wins for Dom over his deadbeat dad, who he's been trying to beat for years. That messes with your mind a little bit, so you might see some pushback from a Finn and a JD, and there might be a splintering here, because it looks like, obviously Rhea's a face. Damien is trending towards face.
Yeah.
The rest of Judgment Day is, Dom is whatever you want, is an enigma. And then there's McDonough and Finn, who have been operating heelish this whole time. So I don't know when it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. I'm here for it. This Judgment Day thing has surprisingly turned a corner of like
a couple times
where you're like, okay, like this should end. Should it end? Is this over? Is this it?
They were on life support for a while there. Stale as hell. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and they figured it out. It took some thirst. You know.
And how dare you forget the most important member in Carlito? Like, don't you leave Carlito out of this? That's
Excuse me, the most important member of Judgment Day is actually R-Truth.
Again, one of those life support that was like, man,
he was fantastic.
This. And now Carlito's in there like, all right, I'm cool with this. Like they need a little bit of the comedy.
Let's think about it just like from a personal standpoint. Like if, let's say you, in this scenario, essentially Rhea Ripley walks in on her man cheating on her or about to cheat. Her initial reaction, like you said, was more of a disappointment, upset type. Like, when she sits down, she's thinking about it, starts to stew on it, then she's going to turn that, and that brutality is going to come out, and it's going to be poor Liv Morgan and poor Dom.
I don't feel bad for Dom. Are you kidding me?
No. He's gonna get murdered.
Dude got Rhea Ripley and Liv. Good for him.
Yeah, because that's always been the funniest part about this whole thing is Dom just fell ass backwards into two of people's most good-looking female wrestlers, and then on top of it, like, it's not because they think it's all because they were, at first it was to get to Rey Mysterio, so Rhea did that, and now Liv is just using Dom to get to Rhea, so he's just this goofy looking pawn.
and I'd thrown out yesterday on our show, let's not even rule out the fact, the thought of, okay, let's say that Dom does eventually give in to temptation and finally gets together with Liv. What's to say that Liv isn't going to say, oh, all right, I've had you, thanks, see you, bye. Like, that is also a very real possibility as well.
Yeah,
she may toss him like yesterday's garbage too. But what
him not wanting her is more desirable to her than him actually wanting her.
Yes, exactly.
That's a good idea.
And at that point, then you have to think about, okay, does that actually get Dominic, who's one of the hottest heels in WWE, a little bit of sympathy to some degree? Like, how does that look? Because that he's one of those guys that, those boos are so firmly a part of who he is as a character that do you ever move away from that as his career matures?
If we ever get to a point where he's being cheered so loud that he can't talk, I might say I've seen it all. Like, I'm not ready.
Effect.
I know, right? When he left, everybody wanted him back, but I'm like, I don't know if I want Dominic Mysterio to be cheered. Although his WrestleMania entrance a couple years ago went way harder.
That was badass.
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Dom has had some moments of like, I see it, but like his character of being just this twerp that nobody likes is like, yeah, keep it that forever.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, we are approaching the end of our time here. To everybody out there watching tonight, thank you so much for joining us. Pluggo, it was a pleasure to have you on. Hopefully JP can join us again. We absolutely can't wait to have you back on. As we wind down here, tell everybody where they can find you on social media, what you have coming up over the next few months. What can people get excited about from Love Wrestling?
Yeah. Hey, first and foremost, thank you for having me. Anytime you guys need me, just shoot me a DM. I am available. JPJ definitely wants to come on, but you can find me at Pluggo on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, Threads, all that fun stuff. You can find what we're doing Thursday night, 8 p.m. Love Wrestling. JPJ and I, he went to Money in the Bank at Toronto, so we're going to talk about all of that, his whole weekend. Marco Stunts back, so I'll probably talk about that for 25 minutes. And then we're going to have our buddy Lawrence come on, who is also up there doing the thing for Love Wrestling. So we're going to recap the whole weekend there. You can find everything that we do Between Two Beards wise at B2Beards on all social media platforms, whether we got guests, whatever we're trying to do. Him and I will be in Cleveland for SummerSlam. We're going to meet for the first time. We're going to do the media rounds. So please, if you're out there, meet up with us. We'll definitely hang out. It'll be a good time. Love Wrestling. Like I said, we got 2 awesome LPW shows this month coming up. I get to see, I don't know if he'll see this, but I get to see Jack Pride lose the Grand Championship twice this month. I'm psyched for that because he's got 2 shots and he's losing them both. Sorry, Mr. Pride. It's not sorry. I didn't mean to get you guys involved in our beef, but it is what it is. And then Saturday morning, 10 a.m., I'm with Blair Pacheco for Exposure. We're going to be recapping IWS from this past weekend and then looking forward to what's coming up this weekend in the independent wrestling scene and beyond. So, yeah, a lot of stuff happening, my friends.
Love it. Love it. Well, thank you once again. And that's the name of the game right now. And wrestling, this is the perfect time to stay busy because wrestling is on fire. It's at an all-time high. Pluggo, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you to everybody that's watching out there with us. Undecided on whether we'll have a show tomorrow. We'll see what there is to talk about with Dynamite as we gear up for Scenic City Invitational. Remember, you can catch TWE the night before tomorrow night. You can catch Scenic City Invitational Friday and Saturday night. Action Futures Tournament Saturday afternoon. All of those are on IWTV. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Pluggo, just stick around for a second after we wrap up here. But for the podcast, Dad, for Pluggo, I'm Mr. Cincinnati. This has been the Wrestling Junkies podcast. Thank you guys so much. Like, share, and subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon.